Hey guys, it's Sammy here, and I brought Ziad here, and today we're going to be talking about what is a good PC build, the minimum requirements, and our recommendations. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, so me and Sammy, well, Sammy's gonna be getting a new gaming PC. He's gonna be building it himself. I got mine like a month ago, I believe. I built it myself as well. And we're just gonna be talking about like what you need minimally for a good PC to run the latest games on mid settings.
Alright, let's
So
just let's just start off with why you should build a PC, then buy one off the store, like I usually would.
building one is cheaper.
Building one comes out cheaper for the parts, and you can get much better specs. That's the first thing.
Yeah, I
And I
figured.
mean, you can get everything that you need because you're building it, like you know what you want, what you need, everything's gonna be fine on it. So
Yeah,
that's the first thing. So let's start with the CPU for the basic requirement. What do you think the basic CPU is?
so minimally, again, for just okay gaming computer that'll run games. For processor, you would need at least an i5. No earlier than an i5. No i3s. At least an i5.
Yeah, and maybe if you can get either second gen or above, so that's either Sandy Bridge, that's a new microarchitecture, or above. I
Sandy
don't
or
think you
Ivy
should get
Bridge.
like, yeah, or like they're coming out with their new Haswell, but you don't have to worry about that. Just make sure you don't get like the first Intel ever made, you know what I mean?
Yeah, make sure it's at least a quad core. I mean, personally, I have a Core i7 quad core. That's all you really need. I would recommend getting one with hyper-threading. That way, if you run advanced software that uses more than 4 cores, you can always trick your CPU to have more than 4 cores. So make sure you get a processor with hyper-threading quad core.
Yeah, and then let's go with the second component. Let's go with the second major one, I guess,
Motherboard.
GPU.
Yeah.
Let's go with the GPU second, because we'll talk about the motherboard in a little bit. All right,
Alright.
for the GPU, what Ziad is running right now is a 2 gig
Wait.
uh
If you
what?
don't know what a GPU is, it's a graphics card, by the way.
Yeah, it's what makes you have your games and 3D
Graphics card
and
is the most
yeah.
important component for a gaming
Well,
build.
yeah, for gaming. It's a GeForce GTX 650 Ti boost. I'd say you put two of those in SLI. SLI means bridging them together, so two graphics card. Each of those GTI boosts are 2 GB, and that's what Ziad's running right now, and he's running everything pretty well. Like he has 60 frames with recording on Fraps, so
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good
like as you guys
graphics
can
card for
see,
the money.
right now in the gameplay, Payday the Heist. I'm running two of those graphics cards. They're really well, and without using fraps to record and using up my RAM and all that, I have 130 FPS. But when I do start recording, it's like 60 to 80 FPS. It changes, but I mean that's still
And
pretty good.
let's talk about FPS. It's the frames per second, and for it to be not choppy, meaning playable, I think the minimum is
Yeah,
30 frames or above before like your brain starts seeing that there's flickering in it and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, he's running double that, and that's with recording, and he can go even like 120 frames per second, which is very good. Maybe
I
with those graphics cards. And for a price tag of 180 for a graphics card, those are actually a very good price for what you get.
Yeah, I can run Crisis 3 on the optimal settings, which is really good considering Crisis 3 is the most demanding graphics game. So,
Yeah, and then let's talk about like the motherboard.
the motherboard, okay, so before you do anything, pretty much the first thing you need to figure out is what motherboard you're going to get, because that determines what kind of graphics card, because the sockets are different, what kind of processor you're going to get. I have a motherboard with an LGA 2011 socket, and the reason I got that is because I have an i7. If I ever wanted to upgrade to the i7 Extreme, I could do that because I have the LGA 2011 socket. So make sure you choose a motherboard with good expandability.
and the right socket. Like the right CPU, if you have to make that correspond with the CPU socket with the motherboard socket, so make sure everything is right. Like on my PC build, I'm thinking of getting like an AMD 8-core, one of their new ones, and that socket, for example, is an AM3. So you need to get an AM3 motherboard to put that in. And Intel's pins, the gold transistors, which connect your components together. Intel's has it on the board, the pins, and they have gold receivers on the CPUs, but AMD has the pins on the CPU itself.
Yeah,
So you gotta know which ones you're gonna get. It's either an AMD or an Intel motherboard, to make sure you have the right one.
yeah, and also for gaming PC, I would recommend an ATX motherboard. You can get micro ATX, but
Alright,
micro
wait.
ATX
We
off.
gotta explain what ATX, what all the motherboard sizes are. So like
Okay,
the
so for
smallest size is a
motherboards,
mini ATX.
no, that's not the
Right?
smallest one actually. There's different motherboard
What is the
sizes.
smallest one?
So the biggest
Well,
one
that's like
is
this one that you can buy, a mini ATX, I'd
the
say.
biggest one is ATX. Then there goes micro ATX, and then there's mini ITX, and then those nano ITX, and then there's pico ITX. And we're
Oh,
not gonna
those
get
are for like
into
tablets and stuff. Yeah, the main
yeah,
ones for desktops, I'd say, are
no
mini and
micro,
above.
yeah, micro and above.
Micro, really? They make micro for desktops?
Dude,
Alright,
micro is
well,
the second.
those are kind of bad for desktops. I wouldn't
The
recommend those
micro,
kinds.
dude, the micro is the ones people put in mid tower cases. Those are like the second form factor. The biggest form factor is ATX. The second biggest is micro ATX, not mini ITX, micro ATX. So for
Right.
gaming desktop, I'll prefer an ATX because micro ATX often they don't have expandability ports in them for SLI bridges for graphics cards. And yeah, so I would prefer an ATX. Mine is an RATX, so mine is rotatable, so I can have my graphics card sitting at the top of the chassis instead of at the bottom if there isn't enough space in my case.
But you have to make sure that your airflow corresponds with your layout. Make sure the airflow's going the right way, and you put your fans the right way, so you can make sure all the components in there aren't getting overheated.
Yeah,
So let's talk about the
wait,
RAM, our
yeah.
recommended RAM.
So my
Um,
motherboard, my maximum RAM it can have is 128 gigabytes, and it has
which is
eight.
overkill.
Yeah, it has 8 RAM slots, but right now I'm running 16 gigabytes of RAM with 4 Ripjaws, 4 GB RAM chips in mine, which is, I would recommend one of the gaming RAM chips like Ripjaw's Corsair Dominator, because those actually have fans in them.
Like I would say, if you're just gaming and you're not really editing and stuff, just use an 8 GB. But if you're actually gaming, if you're gaming and editing, like in After Effects or whatever you want, the standard right now is the 16 gigabytes for that. So
Yeah,
make
mine is
sure you get
16.
everything sorted out.
Mine's 16 gigabytes, and when I run After Effects, I use about 60% of my RAM, which actually isn't bad. Everything renders pretty fast. But I mean, 8 gigabytes is fine too if you're just gaming. But if you're editing as well, it's not bad because I'm only using 60%, which is almost half, which is like 9 gigabytes. So if you get 8
All right, let's
gigabytes, it might render a little bit slower, but I mean, it's still good.
Let's talk about what overclocking is, and if you're not happy with the recommendations we just gave you for all the parts will be in the description, and there's going to be pictures on the video that you guys will be seeing. So, let's talk about, if you guys don't like the performance that we have, there's always this thing called overclock, and Ziad will explain what overclocking is real quick.
Alright, so let's just say you buy an i7 processor, and its base clock speed is 3 gigahertz. And by the way, clock speed is measured in gigahertz. So if it's 3 gigahertz, but its maximum is 4 gigahertz. If yours is at 3 gigahertz, you can up the voltage on your processor to make it 4 gigahertz, which is the fastest and the maximum it can be. So when you overclock, you're pushing your part to the limit to what it can really be. You can overclock processors or graphics cards.
Yeah, you can overclock both too, but make sure you have a nice power supply that's giving quality power to all your components, so you make sure when you overclock it's not getting bad power. You also have to make sure that you have good cooling, because that significantly increases the temperatures.
Yeah,
Make sure
see,
you have either water cooling comes into the factor when you're overclocking, and the air cooling is just like the standard that you usually have.
Yeah,
So
cooling.
I would recommend water cooling for the CPU, and then a lot of fans around the GPUs. That's just my personal
Yeah,
layout right there.
mine is set up like this. I have two water cooling pipes on top of the CPU in a little tank, which is nitrogen and water mixed together in a special little formula. And on my case itself, on my graphics cards, on each one of them, there's a fan on it. And then around my case, I have like 10 more fans, like all around it. And all the air goes up. It has vertical airflow because it has little vents at the top. So that's just how you need a very good cooling system for PCs. You can't just get a half-assed cooling system with like
It
two
depends.
fans.
It depends. The stock cooling is good if you're not gonna overclock or anything like that. But if you're gonna go long term with the thing and playing all day and you want to overclock, yeah, you need to get better cooling. Aftermarket cooling is always the best.
Yeah. So now
So
the
let's
last
talk about
part is probably the case that you need to worry about.
yeah.
And my case is a full tower. I would highly recommend a full tower if you're going to expand. Like mine, there's a bunch of room in it still, and I have the biggest motherboard. And there's like yeah, just kind of there's like 8 expansion bays for disk drives, hard drives, whatever you want, solid states. So mine has a lot of expansion bays, but just yeah,
Well, this whole I guess components that we guys gave you, it should all come out to like under 1200, I'd say, for
yeah.
everything.
For everything on
So
mine, it was 1400, which actually really isn't bad for a gaming PC,
for his specs,
considering.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Sammy, are you gonna get a mid tower or a full tower case?
I would get a full tower, because I mean, that allows for the best airflow. Even though you need to have the space for it, I mean, it's still going
Yeah.
to be always better than a mid tower if you know how to set everything up, because it's easier to open up the side, play with your components, you have a lot of room, you don't have to worry about
My
anything.
case
So.
is like 2.5 feet tall, so it's pretty big. All right.
Yeah, and
Well,
also graphics cards, they're really big, so you have to make sure you have a
yes.
big case.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else we should talk about for gaming PCs?
Well, I'm gonna start off by saying I'm probably gonna get that 8 core. It's the FX8 350. I'm probably gonna end up turning off 4 cores and boosting the gigahertz from like a 4.2 turbo that it has already on it to like a 4.6 or 4.8, and then maybe overclock it to like a 5.1. But keep in mind that you have to have good cooling whenever you're trying to overclock like that
You have
much.
to have a good power supply too, because if you don't do it right, you can listen. If you just up the voltage all at once on your CPU, you can, believe it or not, you can burn out your CPU, and you just wasted like $500 on a
Yeah.
CPU. You can actually burn it out and screw up your whole system. So I mean, you just gotta know how to do it, and most of it is internal. When you're overclocking, there's either a third-party software that you can download, or it comes with the software. Mine did. And on my motherboard, there's switches that you press to overclock the CPU when the OS is running.
You know, like we said in our other video, like, you know how the PS4 and the Xbox One, I mean, if you're gonna end up paying that much for for an 8 core in each one for that, might as well just get a PC, you know what I mean? They're gonna be expensive
They're gonna be
when they come
better.
out. Just get a PC because you're gonna be able to get better graphics in the long term. Always upgrade it. On the PlayStation and Xbox, there's always gonna be a lag. And you know, if you don't like a mouse and keyboard, you can get like a controller.
Yeah.
So
Well, we should have a video up soon in like the next week or a couple of days or so about like a custom gaming build with like a price set in case you guys are wondering. Just leave a
yeah, we'll
comment.
put
Go ahead.
like when I start building my computer and stuff, I'll give you guys all my specs, and Ziad will give you all his specs. So yeah, you guys will see it all in detail because we just explained the basics.
So just leave a comment if you like the video, if you want us to make some more videos about computer specs. This is just the start of our technical videos. So we'll be making more soon.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I know they're kind of boring for people who aren't too much in technology, but you know, if you want to learn or you want if you have questions, this is where you ask them because I will be able to help you out, and Ziad will be able to help you out really quick. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Alright, well, thanks for
thanks for
watching.
watching.
Please subscribe. Come on, guys. We don't get subs. You guys just watch and leave. Please. Please subscribe. For for real, it helps us out and it inspires us to make more videos. So please, you guys just watch and then leave.
You know,
all
I mean, we're
cheap.
gonna keep making videos anyway, because I mean, we're having a lot of fun making them.
It just
But
yeah.
it's just it would help if you guys could just subscribe. All right,
Please subscribe and like.
all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.
All right, peace out.
Hello, my dear friends. Well, here I am on record at last. And it feels so wonderful to be here with you on my first album. I'm so happy.